Hi, it's Melissa here, and I'm back with the Scrappery finally. We've had sickness, I've had the flu, then Brielle had a fever, and December is absolutely crazy, but I wanted to make another video for you. And what I have here is a really old photo of, who's this, Brielle? Sam when he was a baby. He's nearly 11, so you can appreciate how old this photo is. Now, this photo has some damage on it, as you can see. I'm not sure how that happened, but it did. I don't even know if I have the original, but what I'm wanting to do is scrapbook this photo. I've had it for so long, and I keep picking it up to scrapbook it, and then I keep thinking, no, it's damaged. But he's really cute, isn't he? And he's in the bath, and who does he look like?
Fuzzy.
No, Ava. He looks like Ava. So today I just wanted to, I guess, tell you that even if your photos aren't that great, they're still scrap-worthy. Your scrapbook doesn't always have to be a work of art. If you've got 4 kids like me and you're busy, then just the fact that you've got the memory recorded, the photo recorded and preserved should be enough. So what I'm hoping to do is create a page and take away from the fact that this is damaged. Now, if the damage was up here, I'd probably embellish and cover it, but it's not. It's on his ear and the side of his face. There's nothing I can do about it. I need to scrapbook this photo, so I'm going to get on and do that. So what I've pulled is just some things that are not really girly. This collection, Bohemian Dream, is very, very girly, as you can see. But there are still B-sides, and, you know, blue is not just for girls anyway. So there are still definitely ways to use this kit.
I have blue.
You have blue, that's right, and make it work. So I've pulled the blue items. I've probably used some of that as well, and I'm not a huge fan of this. It could be cut up and used as layers, I think, like even if you'd used it as a photo mat, but I'm going to use this to be, well, actually the A side, isn't it, which is a beautiful wood grain as my background, and I'm going to go from there. So I will put you on to fast forward and get started. So I'm back, and the first thing I did was remove the branding strip. And like I said, I'm not a huge fan of that paper there, so I didn't feel any need to gut any of it away or anything. I just decided to just start working on that full piece of paper. So I've got this photo, and it has a white border on it, and I put that white border on with cardstock a very long time ago, and I knew I wanted to use some of that beautiful textured cardstock, and it's got that embossing on it, but I needed to have a mat of paper that would separate the white border on the photo from the white of that textured cardstock. Now, Brielle is still here, and she is trying to help me, which is really sweet. And so I've just selected a piece of that paper that doesn't have too much white on it, so you can get some colour popping around the edges. And I don't need a whole lot showing for the mat, just enough to have visual separation. So just double-sided tape that down, and then I'm going to use my little trimmer. And at this point, she got quite excited, and she said, "Mum, you've got a baby trimmer and a big trimmer." She's all about babies at the moment still. So I probably could have just done this with my scissors, because sometimes I have a hard time getting the edges even. But in the end, I'm happy. It's not a big deal. Just wanted to make sure some of that colour could be seen. So little painted nails there. She had a friend do her nails for her, an older friend. And so I'm just working out how I want this, and I like the ripped torn edge on the bottom of that paper. I think I had that there from the previous layout that I did. So that's looking really good, and that ripped bottom edge just allows a bit more of the actual embossing to be seen. So at this point I thought of putting that photo on the left, but the only problem is the way that he's looking, and I'm really right dominant when it comes to my layout, so I do try and push myself to not do that all the time, but with this one, because it didn't look right, I'm going to have to gravitate towards my normal, and you'll see that soon when I realise. So I decided to use this piece of floral. I know it's quite girly, but I think it needed just a pop of something to break up all the blue, especially against that neutral background. So I'm loving how this is looking. I'm not sure if I mentioned it in my beginning video, but I wanted to hand cut some scallops. I did that in my traveller's notebook and I love the way it looked, so I wanted to just translate that across to a traditional layout. So now I needed to add something to this background. I felt that the wood grain is beautiful, but it could just do with a little bit of something. So going with some watercolours, and I've selected blue, and I'm just splattering that on with my water brush. Brielle was getting quite excited at this point and probably wanted to help. And then I went with dark blue as well. So what you don't see, and I've cut it out, is just me squeezing the water out onto my paper towel just to clean my brush and then coming back in. I didn't even wait for the light blue to dry. I went ahead with the dark blue, and that was her showing me some other colours that could be used for boy layouts, which I thought was really sweet. So this beautiful cut apart is in the PLK, and I liked these two words here, cherished moments. The font is the same, but the colours are not, but they're quite boy-like, I guess, the colours, so I thought that would work well with this photo. Here I'm playing around, and that's when I'm realising that I need to have this photo on the right. So I had left those splatters to dry, and I cut out me cutting all of the scallops, so that's what I did while the paper was drying. And my plan is to lightly adhere them and then stitch them across the tops. So I'm just working on my positioning. I don't want them even. Obviously I want them to be lined up horizontally, but I want the edges to be uneven on the left side there, and I'll run them off the page, and then later on you'll see me trim them. So I've just put a little bit of double-sided tape down, and I had to eyeball this. I considered getting a ruler or my mat to line it up, but in the end I just went, no, you know what? It doesn't have to be perfect. So I did think about leaving these ends long, so I've stitched them. But I think because I trimmed the right side excess off, it doesn't look quite right with them just long. So I did trim them, and then later on I'll trim them away completely. So at this point I think they're still a little bit long. And I just trim the back off as well, just to keep it nice and clean and tidy. And here I'm just obviously trimming off the edges. So I knew with this one I wanted it to hang over the photo, which means that I don't want any of the white border around that photo to be seen. So this was a bit too big, so I just trimmed them down a bit. And I could, and I did think about pre-stitching it and then gluing it, because I did think about popping up the photo and the mat on some foam. But in reality, this is a really old photo. He's, like I said, he's nearly 11. And in this photo he must have been about 4 months old. And I'm very aware of the fact that I don't scrap chronologically, but I store my layouts on my albums chronologically. And so his album is pretty big, his baby album, and so I knew I needed to squeeze this page in amongst those other layouts. And so I didn't want to add any more dimension by adding extra foam or any kind of pop dots to really majorly pop up elements. So I went ahead and stitched right through all I think there's 3 or 4 layers by the time you count all those layers behind the photo. And my sewing machine coped fine. I just put my foot down a bit faster and it copes. And so now I've got these labels that Ronelle has included, and these bigger ones are in the main scrapbooking kit. You get the same but smaller in the PLK, which is a Project Life kit or Pocket Life kit. So you can just trim them out with your scissors, nice and quick and easy. And once I've done that, I needed to decide where to place it. Now I didn't know at the time. I did know I wanted to add my journaling onto it, because I don't have that much to say about this photo. It's just really a cute photo of Sam. It's not first bath, or obviously he's like 4 months old, but it's not, it's just cute. That's what I'm trying to say. And so I'm just adding that journaling about how much he enjoyed his bath time, and just working out that I cut away the edge of it because I didn't need the whole label, and I'm just tucking it underneath the first white mat on the photo. So here I am using some dimension after saying I wasn't, but I am using a little bit just to lift this label up off the background scallops. So that's looking good. And now moving on to the chipboard. So these pieces are beautiful. They're quite hard to use, but you know, we need to use up our kits so that we can get our photos scrapped and get on to using other product. Says the girl who has hardly created much lately. But anyway, At this point, I thought I'd have those cherished moments words up there, but they move. And here I'm just going onto that sticker sheet and selecting some phrases and stickers that work with my photo. So one thing I did want to mention was that I made this layout probably a week ago, and then I got unwell with strep throat to the point where I couldn't swallow, could hardly talk. And so that's why there's been a big gap and why I haven't posted regularly. I had the flu the week before, strep throat this week, so next week I'm hoping to get back on track with my normal layout posting schedule. So now I'm using these chipboard words, and they are part of the Bohemian Dream collection as well. Now I struggled with these. I struggled with getting them off or out, popping them out, and I also struggled with getting the little bits in the middle out. Now you don't have to remove those middle pieces. Obviously with the word this, you do want to remove that piece between the T and the H, but you could actually leave the E and R sort of little pieces. I just use my scissors. You could use paper piercer just to pop them out. Now they should pop out easily, but mine didn't. They pulled away some of the sticky adhesive on the back, so I had to come in with some liquid adhesive just to get them down. But all that to say that they're fine. You can also colour them, but I just decided to keep them neutral for this page. So now I'm working on the embellishment, and I knew I needed to get these words down. I just love how they are simple, and I've just layered them just by lifting the edges of that word cherished and just adhered them with double-sided tape. Now I did consider adding some stitching, but I didn't want to stitch through the words because I just love that font so much. So I'd originally had a circular chipboard piece on the corner of this photo, but I decided to go with that little square heart, and it's quite subtle and quite sweet. Adding some more, or one more phrase up there, and at this point I cut those threads off and they look much better. Had this little, I think it says one of a kind, yep, one of a kind flare badges, and I guess in our family he is one of a kind because he is the only boy, aside from my husband. And what you don't see is me adding, I think I add another pop dot or liquid adhesive to that badge to get it to stick. And so my final touch was just to add that feather and put a little bit more dimension behind that, just to provide a bit of shadowing and lift it up a bit. And that is my page. So I hope you liked this, and I hope you are inspired to make some boy layouts from what is really a very girly kit. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll be back again soon. Take care.